Yeah, I do receive threats. Nothing that so far I have considered needing extra precautions. Pressure, yes, and it doesn't change either my commitment or the results of my work, I think. Human shields. The use of human shields is prohibited under international law. So, and it occurs when military action takes place behind civilians, so as to use them as a shield. And of course it's prohibited. The point is that Israel has used the concept of the allegation of Palestinian armed groups using human shields since the very beginning of its military campaigns against Gaza in 2008, 2009, 2012, 2014, 2020, 2012, 2013, 2021, 2022, and including during the Great March of Return. So, and these allegations have proven false to a certain point.
Hello everybody, so let's talk about Francesca Albanese, the special UN rapporteur on Palestinian territories occupied since 1967. I mean, she's in the news again after the South African ambassador, expressed concerns about her safety and intimidation that she's been receiving from certain quarters in America and Israel. As you know, not too long ago, when she published her report saying that Israel had crossed the threshold of what she calls the genocide. The matter was raised before the State Department spokesperson in his daily briefing, and he had dismissed it not just once but twice by saying that she was anti-Semitic. And she also received threats and intimidation from Israelis as expected. Now, this question was asked to her. Clearly, the kind of work that she's doing is extremely brave. I mean, no one would do that against a country which has been defying international laws, breaking international laws with impunity. You know what happened? The ICJ wanted Israel to implement certain things within a month and report back. Israeli government simply decided to ignore that. I mean, how many countries in the world can do that? You tell me. How many politicians or countries or head of the states can do that? Defy International Court of Justice? Because the regime knows that it has a backing from the countries like UK or the USA and Canada and Australia and the EU. How many countries in the world would get that kind of backing to break international laws from these countries, the so-called saviors of human rights or human values? I mean, this double standard is mind-boggling. So clearly she was asked about the threats that she has been receiving to her personal safety.
Madam Special Rapporteur, thank you. Just wondering on a personal level for you, given how vocal you have been and how some of your statements might not please certain people, have you received any threats, any attempts at intimidation while working on this report? Thank you.
Thank you for your concern. I mean, it's been a difficult time. I've been attacked since the very beginning of my mandate. I don't say that it's been a pleasant journey, but I can tell you it's much more. I mean, most of the pain comes from where I have to observe and monitor and investigate day by day. Yeah, I do receive threats. Nothing that so far I have considered needing extra precautions. Pressure, yes, and it doesn't change either my commitment or the results of my work, I think.
Now, not just this. There's also, this in the entire ongoing conflict, one thing that Israel has been saying to the world after killing innocent civilians by saying that they were targeting Hamas and Hamas operatives were taking shelter, taking cover behind the human shields. So you kill anybody and say, oh, we were trying to kill Hamas because they were hiding behind human shields. There is no proof. Israelis have never been able to prove. And this is exactly the lies that Israel's allies like the UK or the USA have been peddling on the international platform. And none of them have been able to prove their allegations with proper credible evidence. Just imagine those 7 foreign aid workers, unfortunate, tragic. I mean, they were being extremely brave by working in a war zone, risking their personal safety, and they had to lose their lives. But just imagine if they were not whites, if they were not British or Americans, if they were Palestinians, even if they held British passport, even if they held the dual nationality of America and Palestine. But if their names were some Arab names and, the Palestinian names, would the world have reacted in the same way that they reacted now? No. Israel actually went very close to saying that, they were Hamas people. They were saying in their findings, this is what the IDF or the IOF said, that we thought we were killing Hamas people. Now, if they were not foreigners, that argument would have held valid. That yes, they were indeed killing Hamas people and they were indeed all Hamas operatives. Like they have said, all 30,000 plus people are Hamas people, including 17,000 children, all Hamas operatives. But not Francesca Albanese. She demolishes that argument. You have to watch this.
I was wondering, Special Rapporteur, can you elaborate a little bit more on the humanitarian camouflage and other case studies from violations in the field in recent years where similar policies have been enacted by armed groups or governments or military? And secondly, how much were you inspired in your research by General Maxwell Taylor and the Nuremberg tribunals? Thank you.
By humanitarian camouflage, I mean the use, the misuse, the distortion of international humanitarian law. Principles of proportionality, distinction, precautions have been invoked. I mean, Israel has justified, has explained its military actions as proportionate, as not targeting civilians. They didn't achieve their goal, considering that 70% of the victims have steadily been women and children throughout the assault on Gaza. And so there has been an abuse of these categories. And in the report, I made reference to human shields, medical shielding, evacuation orders and safe zones, and collateral damage. I won't have the time now to elaborate on each and every one of them, but just to pick one. Human shields. The use of human shields is prohibited under international law. So, and it occurs when military action takes place behind civilians, so as to use them as a shield. And of course it's prohibited. The point is that Israel has used the concept of the allegation of Palestinian armed groups using human shields since the very beginning of its military campaigns against Gaza in 2008, 2009, 2012, 2014, 2020, 2012, 2014, 2021, 2022, and including during the Great March of Return. So, and these allegations have proven false to a certain point. Even Israel, in certain instances, Israel had to retract those allegations, and this is documented in the report. So I'm saying that this is not new. It has been used at an unprecedented level this time because, again, on everything has been justified, and it's very overwhelming. It's overwhelming in the Israeli explanations and documents that Hamas uses human shields. And so instead of doing what IHL requires, so providing evidence that in each attack, that's where not avoidable because it was Hamas using human shields. The very configuration of Gaza's population has been considered human shielding. But also, and this is the last element I wanted to bring to this, how military targets, because this is what happens to the people, how military targets have been considered. So first of all, there is a pattern that allows to say that not just combatants have been targeted. And in order to be a legitimate target, you need to be an active combatant. A soldier, and I say that in general, including an Israeli soldier who's not an active combat, cannot be targeted because he's a civilian at that point. And so it's a crime to target anyone who's not in active combat. But also the physical targets have been identified through an AI system on using criteria that have led to target an entire building, for example, based on the presumption that an Hamas affiliate had been there. And this is, so there was no military purpose to target the entire building. And of course, and there is overwhelming evidence of how medical premises have been destroyed on this basis, on using false allegations that then have proven wrong, and still this has not spared any facility from the military attack.
So now you know why Francesca Albanese has become a villain of sorts, for these people like Israel and its allies across the world. We need more of Francesca Albanese. Because, the way the things are happening, America says that they have issued a warning to Israel. There is a change of, the British politicians are also kind of changing their tone. But that's not enough. That's not enough. Who is going to compensate for the total destruction of Gaza? Who is going to compensate for the wiping off of so many families in Gaza and orphaning the tens of thousands of children? Who is going to compensate? That's an important question. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.